The first thing that popped into my head was just my wallet became so thick with Tosh that I squeezed it into a cup and served it to Pharaoh.
I don't know why that was the first thing you thought
I don't
of.
know. It just was odd. It was a weird...
Well, you never know where your subconscious goes.
Anyway, so, but,
I don't know what we were talking about. Were we talking about anything?
Well, we
talking about how good that shot was.
We were talking about that man's boogie fever. He was on the love train.
Saturday
love train, the love train.
The train they're all on is holes in the center of the cranium.
the cranial hemorrhage train.
If you all line up perfectly in a row, I'll break the world record for mass lobotomy.
Lobotomy train.
Why did I don't know why the first thing that came to mind was the weird Gravity song by... Isn't that a John Mayer song?
It's
like, lobotomy!
Stay the hell away from me!
I don't know why because I don't even really know that song, but it was just something about the way it rhymed, I guess. Alright, who wants a third nostril?
He's come to take me out.
Well, I mean, that'll do it.
I've added this new... So obviously you and I are both very much into growth mindset and the idea that you constantly need to be... What? Growth mindset?
Sure, that just sounds awfully self-helpy.
But that's what it is. I mean, it on a business level, that's what they call it, is growth mindset. It's just constant, improvement and...
No, but what would Jordan Peterson call it? Because I feel
probably growth mindset.
I feel like he's got a better... He would have a Jungian term for it.
Outside of just...
I don't know.
Self-reflection or what is it?
Well, that's not a bad thing to call it.
But I think... therefore I am. No. I'm just playing. Sorry. I believe that
that's actually kind of a funny joke.
Oh, that's clever.
Well, because these are the same guys that published that, aren't they?
I don't know.
Final Fantasy 27.
That's very funny.
I think these are the same guys that produced that, aren't they? Because that's actually quite humorous that they would... Oh, that one's not nearly as funny. What's with the clown shoes, pal? Who are you?
Ronald McDonald.
Ronaldo. I actually don't know what the last name is. Because I did see a weird Japanese McDonald's commercials on YouTube. Because, again, YouTube knows I'm into weird things.
What?
It was
okay, you're going to have to unpack your Japanese McDonald's commercials.
It was literally just like a 10-second clip. And the title of it was something like, I am Ronaldo something. And it was just, and literally all it is it's a Japanese commercial for McDonald's in which there's a guy dressed as Ronald McDonald. And he says his name in Japanese, and it says in a weird kind of way.
Are you...
It's like, Ronaldo McDonald's. And I was like, well, okay, now I know how that's said. What? What kind of jaw? Get the jaw upgrade. You'll chew through titanium.
Anyway, I find that reading books and all that kind of stuff is...
Oh, wow. They actually did put their name on it. Well, that's a funny joke. I'll leave it be.
But the like reading books and making sure that you're...
I wasn't going through your stash.
Evaluating philosophies and things of that nature is important, but I find that in order to actually make trackable progress, that
it has to be trackable.
That's essentially the sentiment, but it makes it a little bit... That makes it sound obvious, which it is, but...
That's the problem with it. It's so obvious no one thinks to do it.
Exactly. This particular app that I found is incredibly helpful.
I am still dragging him. Get back in bed.
You're like telling him to stop following while you have his hands
Come on,
still.
get in bed. Get in there. Well, that'll look like he fell out.
Put the Ronald McDonald shoes on.
He's laying on them. I just need to give him a bottle in his hand, and people will just think he's at it again.
Because Ronald did that too, don't you know?
Well, you never know.
I do know. He did.
Well, where did he go? He's not been around for a while.
But
we can't have fun anymore.
Wow.
It seems that way. Like, yes, it was, of course, wacky and silly, but we were allowed to be wacky and silly back in the 90s. We don't seem to be allowed now.
That's certainly true, because people get offended, don't you know?
At Ronald McDonald.
In his
big shoes.
Well, it's because
have you heard?
You know what they say about people with big shoes.
Well, no, this is the funny thing. I was going to make a joke. Oh, because it's the worst. It's one of those Tumblr things that you just go, only on Tumblr could this ever have been said. They said, if you consider the stereotype about people with big shoes and also the inverse stereotype about people with big cars, then there's a reason people are afraid of clowns. Because they drive tiny cars and have big shoes. And so the comment on it was like, I can't believe you made me read this with my innocent eyes. Because it's like, the more you think about it, the worse it gets. So that's why Ronald McDonald went away.
You have tremendous dong.
What? What is this supposed to be?
Rather than exotic butters.
Well, I'd like you to say those two sentences again and consider the disparity. This morning I had a shilling in my hand, and now observe the vacancy. That was the weirdest thing ever. Come on. I don't think it's going to be. Come on. Little extra time. Oh! That was toes. Well, this is just more. Okay, Blade of Shintaro. Well, this isn't nearly as... Where's the Final Fantasy jokes? Okay, I guess I shouldn't have asked. You're just getting a little old, guys. Come on. Could have made fun of themselves for more than just that. Yeah.
But anyway,
give me my credits.
The sentiment that I'm finding routine is more important than goal setting, I suppose.
Well, did you see the very video that I saw on YouTube that basically said... it said something very similar to that, where it's like, if you want to... Don't set goals, because those are too finite. Set routines that you engage in. Mm-hmm. Because that will get you the results, rather than just sort of a nebulous, like, oh, I'd like to do that. I'm going to do this every day.
Right.
And that's the only way to get to that. And I mean, and that's sort of what Jordan Peterson talks about when you have to make your plans so concrete. It's like you actually have to think about them and think about what it would take to get them, and then that's essentially doing the same thing where you go, now I've actually got a set of genuine plans, not just a vague hope.
I'm fairly confident it's a
this is Peterson, Big Bubba
quote, or at least kind of a concept that he talks about, rather than trying to build, because he doesn't like the word habit. He essentially says it's a ritual that you build by making a routine, which you build by just doing it once and then continuing to do that same thing. And so this particular app I found helpful, and literally all it is it essentially gives you God dang it. It's a checklist, but it's a glorified checklist, but really it's a little bit more than that, because it allows you, especially as someone who is self-reflective or introspective, I suppose, to have real-time metrics of how things are going. Yeah. And so
I'm a bit more of the tactile. I didn't exactly get deep into the bullet journaling thing. I sort of adapted that into the journaling I was already doing. Because it's a similar kind of thing, because again, I think I'm a little more old school, where it's like it's literally a chart of stuff, and
it depends for me.
Because again, I try to get away from apps just because I'm like, I don't. Just because it's dictating my life in a positive way doesn't mean I want. It's still not electronics dictating my life.
This isn't.
I mean, dictating. This
isn't.
But
this isn't it. Pinging me for a particular thing. Well, okay, that's not what this is.
Okay.
It's literally just me checking the box off on this.
Versus... Oh, see, that's what mine was. Much more. It was like, did I do this today? Yes. Did I do that today? Yeah.
So that's essentially what it is. Except this one actually will give you like algorithmically, it gives you. You know, here's how this year has been. Here's a particular month that you were less productive, and here's why.
How does it know?
Well, because it can see like what you've reported. You report.
That was close.
So every single, it's an app you have to purchase. So it's not like it's a non-pay whatever. But it's a small purchase. I think it was only.
He sees me through the shrubs.
It was only like $15 or $10 or something like that.
That's not small for an app.
Well.
How sophisticated is the app?
It's pretty sophisticated.
Okay.
So it builds you based on your goals and your personality type and some of those things. It builds you an AI generated suggestion for some habits that you may want to consider, and then from there you basically add and drop apps from or add and drop routines from a library that you basically pick and say, that's something that actually fits the box of what I'm wanting to accomplish. Like you'll go into, for instance, cognitive improvement, and it'll say, some things like reading. And so you'll go, okay, I'll add that because that makes sense to me. But it'll say, where do you want to put this? Do you want to put this in morning routine, anytime routine, or evening routine? And then what it defines it is basically says, like, if you're doing this, you have to actually prioritize this in your day to say at some point you have 30 minutes that you'll just sit down and read, whether that's in the evening or morning or whatever it is.
Well, one thing that I think is most helpful for reading is that you just take a book with you wherever you go. Yes,
but for me, I literally had to put, like, it was almost like, this is going to sound odd, but it was like a date with myself. Like, I'm going to sit and read.
A little bit odd, but
like not that I'm like courting myself, but more like it's in my calendar as time dedicated to this. And
is it a time thing? Because
no, it's not. That's the thing.
Because I always found that too
rigid.
Yeah,
totally agree.
To me, I think the best strategy is to have a sort of stable of hobbies that you engage in, and then have time slots at which you go, okay, I have some free time. I'll take a pick of what I'm feeling at the moment, and because it's one of the stable I've collected, it will be one of the things I want to do more of.
Well, and I found, so like one of the things that I put in there on a fitness level or whatever was exercise. But what's interesting is because it is so broad, I wanted to start doing some of my original native martial art. Because right now I'm studying, and we'll maybe bleed into a different topic with this, but I'm studying karate, but my actual home base, if I can say it that way, has been Wing Chun Kung Fu historically.
Right.
And so I've now started re-engaging
Is that a form of Kung Fu? I don't think I knew that.
Yeah, it is. Okay, that's not what I meant to do, gents. Oh, I was trying to push
I have a gun too. Hey, guys, did you see the new model? Where'd you get your uniforms? I'm new here.
I've been in cryo or whatever that is in there.
Told me to come out here. I'm supposed to have a clipboard. You guys have one for me?
No, the only way I could describe it is it just allows you to see some of your metrics up front, and it's again, it's real time.
I've got that in some ways just from in separate.
So I mean, like,
as simple as it might seem, it's like that's one of the reasons I have Goodreads is because it helps me keep track of how much I'm reading.
Right, but I mean, like, hydrate, like listen to music, those types of things. All things that I go, those have all been goals for a long time for me. Listen to classical music. It's one of I have that as just one of my personal ones. But it has like just various things that you can do to add into your routine. And then it's based on my my personality and my goals, it literally said, at least from what we can tell, you're a person that probably only needs about 6 hours of sleep per night. Versus
you never know how those. I wish.
It drives me crazy that because here's what the thing. I knew that my sleep schedule and my sleep pattern are intervals are 3 hours.
Well, that means they're actually probably an hour and a half.
Maybe.
Because 90 minutes is the most common run cycle. I didn't think you'd come this far. Because I thought that too at first, and then I realized, that's just 2 of them at once.
Maybe.
Oh, well, there went stealth.
But all I know is that 6 to me was actually a really great number, because if I get 8, I'm less rested.
See, I don't consider it great, but it does seem to be the only one that works.
What does that mean?
I swear I've got some kind of weird sleep issue.
Well, sure.
Because the amount of sleep at which I feel good in the morning is an amount of sleep that will yield too many hours of being awake for one day. By which I mean, if I got 8 hours of sleep in a night, I would be up for more than the next 16 hours.
Right.
And so I end up on this weird... And in fact, I've had... if I'm on summer break sometimes, I would literally shift into an almost nocturnal... Because I would sleep 8 hours, but then I'm not tired by the same time I went to bed last night. I stay up a couple hours later.
Right.
I get another 8 hours of sleep. I do it again until literally I had it at one point. I was going to bed at 7 in the morning, waking up at 5 p.m. And I'm just okay, this is probably not good for me. Even if I am on summer break, I should probably have some kind of structure. Because it's if I get 8 hours of sleep, it's the 24 hours doesn't split well unless I shorten the sleep to a point that it's uncomfortable.
Right.
It's okay, if I get 6 hours of sleep, I will only be awake for the next 18. At which point I'm starting to stretch it. I would like more sleep than that. I don't quite feel rested, but it's the only way that I can guarantee that when I lay down, I will fall asleep quickly. Did you get the other one?
I didn't. That's why I'm confused about where he's at.
Well, he's apparently going, something changed.
He was right.
Oh, now I know.
He was right the freak there.
Now I know what the thumbnail's gonna be. He was looking straight at you too. That's what made it creepy. See, I actually found that a little bit harrowing. That was actually kind of creepy the way he was staring intently at you. That was genuinely a little bit uncanny.
Well,
that was the weirdest thing ever.
But so I found this app to be very helpful to me because it actually, for me, I think what it helps is that it shows me, hey, this was the least productive day of your week. And if that's a consistent thing, then I'll know, hey, Wednesdays I need to be more proactive about this particular thing.
Well, or you might even take that to go, if this is the day I'm naturally
less productive,
then maybe I'll make that the day. Or you could say maybe I make that the day on purpose. It's a little bit again, feng shui.
What?
I'm not shoehorning it, I promise.
Well, don't. Because
I'm
not done.
Well, sure, but I'm saying it's actually the same kind of thing where you realize, okay, I think there's people in some of those windows. The whole point of saying, because that's again, I think did we not have a discussion again about people revisiting it?
Hey, all you people! Hey, all you people!
There were when I did it, because essentially the idea of going, use a space in the way that seems most natural to you. It's even actually not that far off from Jordan Peterson saying the whole clean your room thing when he says that if you basically sat down and thought, okay, what about this room could I change to make it suit me better, to suit the way I use it, and then just do that and do it in the smallest way that you can consistently do it.
Well, and the same thing with your schedule,
it's very similar to the whole kind of concept of just going, if you notice, hey, in the feng shui sense, it would be hey, this is where I tend to sit for these kinds of activities.
This guy, am I going to be able to
Big Bubba? Probably not. You could try it,
but to put it right through his noodle.
Well, you probably need a tube and whatever other implements are involved in that.
Oh, I did! Yeah. No, I didn't! Well, I thought I had him.
Well, I think you probably would have, but I don't think you're going to get him in one shot. He
definitely was stunned. He was like, yeah. And then he started firing. He's I got a bullet in my brain now.
Are there... Is there an implement involved with the tubing of the noodle? Do they have to use anything, or is it literally just like, here's the tube and here it comes?
What are you on about?
You know what I'm saying.
Are you talking about down below?
Down under?
Down under?
When they come from a land down under, what is it? Is there an instrument involved, or is it literally just like, here comes the train?
Tube. Yeah, that's it.
I mean, I suppose it would be worse if there was some form of implement, because it would be a horrible implement. Anyways, it's a random aside, because you said something about sticking something in his noodle.
Just put it in a gun,
tube and go
boom, it's just in there.
And now I'm actually urinating out of my kidneys, because there's a hole. 'Cause there's a hole back there now.
There's a hole in your kidney, dear patient. Oh dear.
Okay. Anyways, yeah, feng shui, and it's essentially you've discovered feng shui of life.
Well, and truly, what it's allowed me to do something that
I think you
already
just call
really
it optimization, saying
It is exactly that.
Let it be yours, but then just do it that way.
It's optimization.
Like if you think, hey, I noticed that I tend to do this, then just do that on purpose.
Right. And so it allows you to be purposeful and intentional with your time and your hobbies, but like your goals and desires, maybe even. Like I've wanted to start reviewing my Wing Chun for a long time, but I haven't done it just simply because I haven't been purposeful or intentional, and then it just kind of falls off. But I find now with this app and with kind of some of the tools that I've been adding, I stay up less late and get more done. Like and so it's simple things like literally, I'm going to get 6 hours of sleep per night, or like we were talking about just a second ago, about the idea of like, well, I haven't undressed from the day, because we record late at night, and so it's like when I leave my clothes on, it's telling my brain you're still up, like this is still a part of the day. But the minute I actually change into like, hey, I'm in comfortable clothes now, my brain starts going, hey, we're clocking out now, pal. And so I just find that some of the psychological and I guess to a degree, what's the word I'm looking for? Physiological tools that I'm using that help your brain just optimize. It's maximize what it's able to do. But the other thing I find cool about it is, like you said, if you find that there are particular parts of the month or the day or whatever, or maybe there's a particular like dip all of a sudden in a particular week, and you go, what was going on that week? Oh, I was dealing with this particular stress or at work or this particular strain or whatever. It just allows you to process for yourself with yourself.
Dang it.
And you put it.
I gave up.
I'm still
giving up. I continue to give up.
I'm giving up. It's a Reliant K song.
Moving out.
So anyway, it's this particular app that I'm using, and there's many that are like it, but this one I find very effective for how cheap it is, because it actually does a great deal of stuff. It's called UltiSelf, and it's essentially meant to just say, you want to be the best version of you that you can be. And I'm like, that's fair.
Well,
because it's not supposed to be about, I want to be like that guy. It's like, no, I just want to be the better version of me.
Yeah. And it seems like it's similar to I think ultimately what it is there's a certain deterministic element of it. I mean, again, not truly determinist, but it essentially acknowledges that you are more unpredictable than you think. Because I think a lot of self-help from a while back, before this was really understood, was very much just like, you just gotta do it. It's a bit of the Tony Robbins, like, just make it happen. And it's like, you don't have that much willpower actually at your disposal.
Right.
To make yourself do something you genuinely don't want to do.
But what's interesting is routine you do. Like your brain, it's almost like when you make something a routine and just say, this is something I will be doing every day, it's not about willpower at that point, it's just about commitment. And when you start...
Well, it takes a certain amount of willpower.
Yeah, but I mean, when you start succeeding, and like the way that the CEO of this particular company says it, he's Mr. Sneaky Man's going to come up
It
again.
actually gave me a little bit of a spook last time because it was just so sudden and also
this time
so
we're
weird.
Gonna light him up.
He's going to do it the same way.
Yeah, and I'm going to light him up.
It's something creepy about how slowly he moves, but then the kind of
He's
weird...
still there!
Oh, and he got you,
got
too!
me! He fell down and then got back up and then got me. That was...
Yes.
Well played.
Yes, he was tub thumping.
You're never going to keep him down. Drinks a whiskey drink.
Is that part of that song?
Yes. I think we've been over this exact same
Now
thing.
I'm remembering it because it just doesn't feel like it fits. Like, it doesn't make sense.
Well, that song is very...
I mean, I guess
moves
the whole
from
song
thing to
doesn't
thing.
make sense, does it?
Hey.
I was making a point. Where? Just made a point. Where were you?
Anyway.
I forgot the point I was attempting to make.
Sorry. I distracted your point.
No, I just think I've farted. It was something to do with...
Took you off your point. With
I was going to come back to the general topic of... Oh, the deterministic side of things. There's a degree of... Sort of, I mean, again, this is also a feng shui, but also sort of a Jordan Peterson crossover. No one expected that. I mean, I'm not being facetious, I wouldn't have. But it's something with, like, essentially the idea that says, okay, do you notice that you don't want to do this thing even though you do want to do it? It's like you say, okay, I want to have this, I want this goal, but I don't ever actually do the thing. Well, is that just because you're lazy and unmotivated? Like, maybe partially, but maybe you could... What? That was a glitch. Maybe you could alter your circumstances such that it would actually make you more willing to do it.
Right.
And that can even be something as simple as have a dedicated spot to do it. I mean, that's a little bit of the feng shui thing. But even on a Jordan Peterson level, it's okay. This is a total example. Back in school... hated, or not specifically when I had an apartment and actually had like an ability to design a space more custom. I had my desk up against the wall because it made the most sense for space, and I never sat there.
Right.
Because I never sat there, I never did any of the stuff I needed to do.
So therefore, your desk was useless.
Yeah, the desk wasn't any use. So it's like, okay, why you got to think about it, and this is sort of the feng shui aspect of it in this particular case, but it isn't always merely a matter of furniture. But I was like, okay, desk is up against the wall in the darkest corner of the room. And it's not, I don't like sitting there because like my back is to the rest of the room. I'm facing a wall. I'm in the corner. It's not very bright. It's just not a fun spot. So I rearranged the furniture, put the desk in a better place. And then I sat there all the time because it's like, I like this. This is now a better space. And then that makes you want to do the thing. So it's a little bit of the same, don't have goals, have routines. You can do that even if it's not routines, even if it's literally just, okay, because a part of you, again, Jordan Peterson style, it's like a part of you obviously wants to do the thing that you also don't want to do. Mm-hmm. Like, clearly some part of you wants to do it because you had the idea.
Correct.
Some part of you also doesn't want to do it, presumably not because you just genuinely don't, but because the space isn't formulated in a way that makes you comfortable doing it,
or in this case your
life, or your
schedule,
routine, or what. So change that, and you might find yourself being far more willing to do the thing that because then it doesn't take willpower.
Right.
You can actually sort of make
it's a consistency
set
question.
Your circumstances. Well, but not. Right. Yes, but I also think that still takes discipline. The idea of, you do have to develop, in that case, you can develop a habit simply by forcing yourself to do it. But generally speaking, that only works for people who are already disciplined.
Way, though. Yeah, exactly.
Well, exactly. It's like, he makes the joke, you're going, that you can't, if you don't have discipline, You can't gain discipline without discipline.
Right.
So if you're already a disciplined person and you're just trying to do something new, then yeah, you could probably find a way of doing that. But if you're just not disciplined at all and you're trying to get better at that, you're going to need a little bit of a sort of almost a bit of brain hacking to. Wow, I got him in the back of the head.
Well, that's actually what this is.
Well, exactly.
They literally call it. It's a bit of like
that's.
Yeah.
But again, I think that's sort of it comes down to that deterministic. Make the environment give you the motivation, and then it won't be hard to do. Mm-hmm. You don't just have to say, well, I have to force myself to sit down and study.
Correct.
Because then you won't gain anything, because then even if you do manage to actually get yourself to do it, which you probably will fail at a lot,
right,
you won't remember as well because it's the thing you're not wanting to do. And you're going to sort of subconsciously sabotage yourself.
Well, it's, again...
Because if you design the routine such that you go, okay, now this is actually a welcoming thing and I want to do it. Because again, part of you does, clearly. You just have to find out what that part of you needs to actually do it.
Well, it's and it allows you, I think the thing that's cool is visually being able to see that dissonance in your brain and go, oh, okay, when it's on paper all of a sudden, or, in this case, an app, but, really it's the same principle, which is just creating checklists or whatever. When it requires that I actually... I think a better way of stating it is it's less about routine and more about actually having we're going to take this guy out first and find out whether the other guy acts any different.
Well, I doubt it. I think they're the same person, actually. I think we're witnessing a quantum incident. Well, never mind. He's the much more brash one. Well, no, he's going to pull the same stuff. Oh, never mind, I lied.
He's sneaky. He just comes up like a rhino on a Wednesday. He's just like, Morgan, and it's just, anyway, I just think that the idea of being able to say, well, like you said with brain hacking, it's even just, I'm not specifically changing anything about my environment on a feng shui level, but again, staying enclosed. Why is it that tells your brain, yeah, you're not done with the day yet, dude? Like,
well, they've done studies on that.
And it's
clothing affecting how people perceive themselves. Because again, that's the Jordan Peterson where it boils down. It's all a matter of perception.
Right.
You perceive,
which is a very Jungian concept. You
perceive what you choose to perceive in a way.
You didn't see because you didn't wish
literally
to see.
It's true though.
Yeah. Well, and that's it. I mean, it's visualization sounds like such a watered down.
Yeah, that's why there's such a new age temptation that I just go.
No.
It's like, yeah, you're not wrong, but you're framing it in such an unhelpful way.
It's very true. Just make it simple. Because
it doesn't need to be that. And I guess I suppose it's a personality thing. Some people might find Jordan Peterson's kind of academic approach where it's like, oh, I can understand it based on this. And some people are more like, it just makes sense with my intuitions. I feel it, and therefore it's better. It's like, okay, if you're that kind of person, then, I mean, it's the same advice. So if there's no real reason to quibble over it. It's just that I find that a little bit insufferable. But I guess that's because I'm not one of those people. Okay. Well, he didn't hear it this time. Let's give him no, your third nostril.
We're going to perform a cubolectomy on you.
Enjoy your second anus. On the top of your head.
Wow.
A head anus.
Third eye.
Third eye, missing. Second anus. Oh, that's the most
excellent. Third anus blind.
That's the most excellent title for...
this video.
No, I mean that would be a perfect satirical, like, exposing the bunk of new age nonsense. Third eye, second anus. Oh boy,
I think that should be the subcaption though, just exploring the bubkiss of new age philosophy.
Hi fellas. I'm handing out multiple anuses. I am the ani guy. Come on. Boy, you're getting a lot today. Oh, now I got one.
Did you see that last?
Freaking nailed him. You gonna kill any more of us, Jensen? Nah. Did you see the first guy? Freaking nailed him. I'm just shooting the one. Ooh-wee. Well, you should still get on Goodreads because that would help.
I literally have a Goodreads account.
Well,
I don't have the ability to connect with you.
I tried it again recently because it is very obscure. Like, it's hard to actually search people. But I've had a solution
because it's really not a social media thing.
It isn't, but it's trying to be. I mean, the fact that they give that feature, it's like it should at least work.
Yeah. But I have definitely appreciated being able to feel. I will tell you, in the single week and a half that I have used this just to kind of evaluate my own. Oh, that's what I was saying. I was saying rather than talking about it in that kind of new age vibe, when you frame it as a being accountable to yourself, it's.
Oh, there you go. That was insurgent.
It's a far more, again, as you said, like clinical or academic way of thinking about it. You just, I want my iron sight's gone. There's a.
Get the ammo. They're carrying. I'm pretty sure they're carrying what you're carrying, and we are almost out of ammo on that. Yeah, get that.
Oh.
No, get it. A, X. Snatch them.
Yeah, so I think that's anyway.
Yeah,
so now I've been reading a lot more often, which then has made me feel more effective in other regards, which has then allowed me to be more, and then like I've been sleeping better, which then allows me to be more focused and concentrated in various parts of the day. So it's good all around that I've just gone, wow, this is quite helpful to just constantly have a more accurate metric. Oh my word, they gave me the whirly bird.
Someone
fierce.
Farted on you.
I'm sure that's what it was.
Well, it was more than that a little bit. A little bit escaped. Got on you.
That's why it was running down.
Where's that second anus? It came back to bite.
It was cerebral juice.
Ew. Spinal fluid dripping down their nose. Oh, well, that was an awful visual. Let's change the subject.
Speaking of martial arts, though, as far as me adding the...
I learned how to give a guy a third anus.
No. Because I was talking about the whole karate thing. And
Bruce Lee knew how to do it.
He probably did know it.
If any man alive possessed the knowledge.
What's that from?
It's Dickens. It was said that he knew how to keep Christmas.
That's right.
It was said that he knew how to give the third anus.
A third one? Now we're gonna look at all these anuses I keep giving.
Well, I mean,
here comes the surprise McGee that does the.
Here comes Russian Mac.
Oh, is this the Russian guy?
Well, there's just something uncanny about that. like it literally just went doo doo, and then came into frame.
We'll have to watch that back. I do want to.
I'm absolutely making it the thumbnail. It was true. It was surreal, but also not. It was in an uncomfortable way. All right, line up. Breathe easy. Oh, I missed him. I don't know how.
But anyway, I've obviously been adding that to my now repertoire of just various knowledge in that regard. But I came across, I think I briefly mentioned this to you, maybe off of live, but
when we were both dead.
Yeah, when we were on the wrong side of the dirt.
Not even in a past life, in the interval between our past lives.
What do you call that space?
I don't think I believe the concept of reincarnation is that there isn't one.
Well,
I think it's supposed to be immediate.
so you just...
You blip.
You blip from the grave to the...
If you want to get...
I was going to say something terrible.
No, I was going to say, if you want to think about it Cronenberg-y, the light at the end of the tunnel is something you don't want to think about. It's the hospital room. And the tunnel
I remember is that I was naked and I was being held upside down and being spanked repeatedly.
Well, I mean, that's why it's a grace not to remember. Ignorance is bliss. I should be able to slam the door in his face. Well, close enough. I wasted some ammo, but that was just for shock value.
You thought you'd pump him full of lead first.
We're almost out.
I came across the system that you may not specifically have like an opinion on this, but I'm curious about your thoughts on it.
I have opinions on everything.
Well, great.
And they're all right, too.
That's spoken like a true, I don't know.
Liar? I was being facetious.
Anyway.
Although it is true.
It's called Kala. Kala. I did actually. I remember briefly touching on this with you.
Hi there.
But it's.
I broke his neck.
It's kind of an offshoot of. People have said it's kind of Krav Maga-y, but
is that a positive thing?
It's not normally. I'm not a fan of. It's not. No, I'm not normally a fan of that particular. I wouldn't say the art itself looks like Krav Maga, but I would say this.
It's an awfully loose military office. They got beer in all the lockers. They got weird, creepy magazines.
They probably smoke shrooms.
Smoke shrooms. That's a new way to do it.
No, I think that the system itself is is very fundamentally just utilitarian. You just get it's a utility based like.
Oof! Yikes!
Whoa!
Yikes!
Not in the philosophical sense, but or moralistic sense, but it's purely based on utility, and so it's like, okay, if this works, then do it that way. And so it's getting a lot of traction and kind of attention in the martial arts community, because basically it's like use any tool you possibly have at your disposal, which makes it look really kind of raw and not very sophisticated.
Yeah,
but
20 seconds.
Somebody actually said, well, that's kind of the point, though. Like, at one point, there was a video I was watching of a girl that was doing a demonstration of it, and the guy was rushing her, but they have the training methods have been kind of questioned to a degree, or brought into like under criticism, because when they're training people, they literally are like smacking them around, like full on, like
just should be that way.
And this woman is supposed to be, taking this assailant out, and so he's actually kind of roughing her up, and all of a sudden she finally isolates the arm, and then she just starts slamming her head into. He's all padded up and stuff, and so she starts like slamming her head into him, and then gets him down on the floor, and then like starts. And I'm going, is it pretty?
A street fight will never look like a kung fu
exactly,
film.
And
it's a little bit of the Top Gear thing where they're saying the runs that look fast are always the slower ones. It's the runs that are that don't look fast are the ones who are actually making the best time.
Right.
Because it turns out, generally speaking, when you look fast is when you're a little bit wobbly and you're kind of all over.
Right.
But when you're just keeping a super clean lines and curves and not. That ends up looking too smooth to be fast, even though it is still fast. It's like how you don't realize how fast NASCAR is going until you see it on the camera, where it's like the still cam, and they're all gone within a frame.
Right.
But when the camera's actually tracking them, they're moving so controlled that they look like they're going kind of slow.
Right.
But it's like 200 miles an hour.
Well, my kung fu teacher used to literally say, slow is smooth, and then smooth is fast. That was the progression. So you had to go slow first in order to say, well, now I have to get it smooth first before I can even think about being fast. Because they had these guys that would come in and they just want to be fast. Well, then you're choppy and disconnected and not, articulate in your movements, and then you get it gets lost. So anyway, I was curious about this system, and it sounds like you would agree with me that I go.
Well, I don't know about anything. I don't know anything about it. So.
Well, but I'm just saying the function has to be primary. You know what I mean?
I believe
form has to follow function in pretty much everything, but in martial arts, certainly
please,
that's
away.
true.
Away.
That is a new one tearing device.
From me. Whoa! I am gonna just speed bag your testicles. That was the weirdest camera angle. I basically just went full Rocky on this. Going Rocky on your nads. I don't even have nads. Oh,
he's a nad.
It's just 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. Oh boy. Well.
So anyway,
with that lovely image.
No, but it's basically this whole system's point, and it actually goes out and challenges some of the more traditional martial arts, because what it said, and well, let me clarify, it doesn't go out to challenge the more traditional martial arts as much as it does. It goes after self-defense techniques and basically says, look, self-defense as an actual training method is really most of the time very.
Well, it's never going to work if you just do
pandering.
One. Like, yeah, I took a self-defense class.
Well, but it's like you got these women that are learning, like, okay, you slightly move over when you're being choked, and you smack them with your hand in the between the legs, and then the guy's just going to immediately fall and let you go. It's like, well, that's not always how that happens. Sorry.
The answer is grip his nads in a flaming tong.
What?
I'm just saying. In those kind of circumstances, there's a little bit of the just, what you're going to have to do is literally go feral.
Yeah. I mean, it's like
there's no action movie like, oh, I'm going to take him down. It's like, no, I'll bite his eyes out.
One of my friend's grandmas said,
said I'll speed back.
No. She said, if it's like a rape scenario, she goes, I've always thought you let him initially kind of get started or whatever, as far as like getting his pants down and stuff like that. And then the minute that I'm exposed and he's got his pants around his ankles, I get up and run, because I'm faster on foot than he is with his pants around his ankles.
I suppose, but that I think is cutting it a little close. You just shut the wall.
I wanted to straight.
I'm pretty sure most. Well, that was uncanny and creepy in a different way that time.
I watched his soul leave his lifeless body.
Pretty much. It escaped out of the second anus.
Have you seen that video of the girl that burps, and it's like, yes. I think the label is like, girl like burps her soul out of her body or whatever.
The thing is...
about second anuses.
I'm not sure I want to comment on the whole assault thing, because it's, well,
I'm just saying,
I imagine
do you not
that's
agree
going,
that most
yes, I think that would be effective, but I think a lot of people would, I think, say that that's cutting it too close or allowing too.
Well, no, but I'm saying, Kala or whatever you want to call it is.
I don't know about that specifically. I was mostly commenting on your grandma's advice.
Yeah, no. The criticism.
There is a certain degree of just like, there is truth to the fact that you could. There's no greater weakness. Once it's an option on the table, just be like, all right.
And I'm not saying that's
I
incorrect.
will bite it off.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, you have to get to the point that it's like, it doesn't matter. Hey, bud, you're really presenting a clean target for me. You're just...
What?
Noodle, here's my noodle.
And the noodle was gone. That's also what'll happen if the women...
Exactly. It's what should happen to all these guys that...
fully agree. I'll do it.
Take your
Not
noodle.
with my teeth, though.
No!
I prefer a medical instrument.
Medical teeth.
Now here's a totally random
teeth.
Here's a random thought. Totally
he just turned around.
Totally random.
That was hilarious. I capped him and he was like, huh?
Something touched me.
Something just gave me a new anus. I need to go cut this pants. Scrote.
Here's a totally random.
These guys are like, this has to be some
those are the guys with the special. No, those are the guys
special
with
needs.
the special armor. Because I think the guys that can do the invisible are also the ones that have the turbo armor. Totally random aside. What's your reaction to the thought of, similar to jury duty, if there was just executioner's duty? That it was like...
Execution?
Like, if it was just, all right, yeah, this guy tried to rape someone, so you're going to be the one to snip him. I'd be like, I don't think I'd have a problem doing that. You could make it an opt-out kind of thing, but, like, I'd be put on that list. Be like, yeah, I'll castrate some people. Reduce government overhead. Just be like, all right, we're going to draw a random name from the pool of people who volunteered.
Would it only be castration, though?
Maybe not.
Would it be like what about the death penalty? What do you feel about that?
Well, that's a good question, because I feel like it's a somewhat dystopian thought, but then I'm also like, it's also rather libertarian. Just be like, yeah, technically the government...
life for you.
Technically the government doesn't have the right to kill people. It'll just get the citizens to do it for you. It's a little bit anarchic in the way of like... Because that's the thing that always bothers me about people who don't understand anarchy is it's not a lack of rules, it's a lack of governing bodies. The theory of it is that society would govern itself, and the reason it doesn't work is that
it doesn't.
Yeah, that people won't do that because the people who won't govern themselves are still part of the society.
He turned like he was confused.
Well, because
he's coming to me.
He's so used to going up that way, going, what? we say this as if that implies they've got knowledge of all their past deaths. You've never come at me this way before. So, if there was a lottery of like sign up and you could be the one to, I'm just saying.
Cut that man's scrote.
That I don't think I would actually have. I mean, other than the medical, I'd be a little bit squeamish about it because it's like there'd be a bit of sympathetic pain. But
no scrote for you.
No scrote for you. I'm not saying it wouldn't be justified. I'm just saying that I don't know, to actually do it with your hands.
Do it.
Because I feel like you'd have a bit of like I'm clenching as I do it.
Which anus are you clenching?
His, not mine.
His? How would you pull that off?
Special forceps.
Reverse forceps. That.
That's the worst sentence. Reverse forceps. That just conjures the wrong image.
What would the opposite of forceps be?
Well, I don't think they would be. You could use forceps to...
Afceps.
Where's the mizzen steps? Things get serious when we break out the mizzen steps. Oh my. I think you could make an interesting dystopian short story.
With that alone.
About the mizzen steps. No, it's about the volunteer jury executioner duty. It's just like, all right, it's your turn. Come down to the courthouse.
The courthouse?
The courthouse. There'll be the room in the back with the boxes of ammo and the dedicated
Make
pistol.
It a revolving door. Just, yeah, you got called in today.
Well, I mean, I'm obviously, it would require a certain degree of social, I mean, we'd have to, I think it would be a bit of a mask off kind of thing. It's like you're admitting something about the state of your society if you're resorting to that, but I suppose admitting it's better than not. I don't know why. I forget what it was that had made it.
Admission
I had
is
thought
the
of it.
first step, don't you know?
Because I think it was something to do with the conversation we had about like some people who are actually capable of that, and they should be the ones to do it because it still needs doing.
Well,
this idea that everyone should be free from the moral weight of having to make hard decisions. It's like, well, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
You get to be that because
someone else.
Because let's be frank, you can't.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying you should, but there are people who can, and they should be the ones to do it because someone has to.
Well, it's the whole idea of why is it that some people become sociopaths and the other people become those who catch them. It's
well, generally they're both.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's the same principle. It's just on two sides of the coin.
Because the truth, I feel like you could almost have it. And because the other thing about the whole death row system that we do have is it's so corrupted by its sort of almost shamefacedness. Where it's like, oh, because then it's like, okay, people are on death row for 14 years. It's like, that does start to get to the point of like cruel punishment. You're going, yeah, you're going to die sometime in the next decade.
Well, but that's dumb. I'm like...
Well, because, yeah, now we're paying for
I might
that.
die soon.
You might as well just go...
Just kill him.
Well, yeah. I mean, but this
or
is
her.
where...
I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be sexist, but let's be honest.
Statistically speaking.
Exactly.
I'm just saying, here's the short story. Is you get called down to the courthouse... The guy's on trial. If he's convicted, they'll move literally right. It's like the judge's office that's in the back of the courthouse, except there's one that leads out into the alley. It's like, okay, there's a shack with there's like a safe.
Just the alley.
It's like, well, I suppose in Russia, if we're in a low end neighborhood. Really, just like, okay, out in there's a safe with a pistol and a box of ammo. The ambulance will be right there. It's just like, okay, you do it. I feel like this could be a short story. It's a Soviet short story.
Soviet short story. It's about because
we had the conversation about the concept of in the medieval times, the executioner being sort of the both loved and hated by society.
Yeah, it's the necessary.
Because it's like everyone knew it needed to be done, but no one wanted to actually see it or have to interact with the people who did it. And there's an element of there are societies have people like that, and they have that because they need that, and because those people need something. It's like a little bit, we had the discussion of people, there are always going to be people, the sociopathic people. The question is not whether or not they will actually act negatively or if they have a positive role.
Right.
Because again, you probably do have to be a little bit on that spectrum to be the guy who gives the lethal injection. I think you probably have to be that, and we're probably all the better because you have a job. Not only because you do a job that is unpleasant that needs doing, but also because it's giving you something to do that you might otherwise just go, hey, I could just as easily be one of these guys.
I don't disagree with you that it's certainly dumb to kind of lead people or not to.
Well, it's not leading them on. Well, they know they're going to die.
Well, yeah, but I just go, why then? Why not just get it over with? Because it's just
bureaucratic.
Well,
because again,
dumb.
we think, well, it has to be humane. We got to go through all these processes because if you just shot someone in the back of the courthouse, wouldn't that be awful? And it's like
it's Anatoly's
would it
origin
be awful?
Story.
What's the difference? Is it just aesthetically more unpalatable?
Exactly. It's
because that's where I just go
saving face, and at that point,
your face ain't worth saving. Your face needs another anus.
Get the apps.